Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wine.com Experiences. I'm Gwendolyn Osborn. Today, we are traveling to the great country of Chile, tasting through 3 wines from 3 of its most iconic producers. And these are some incredible wines. If you purchase this trio ahead of time from Wine.com, great. Please go ahead, get those wines open, pour them into some glassware. We do have 3 wines for you today, and these are big and beautiful wines. They're the kind that you can easily enjoy over the next several evenings. That said, if you would like to open 1 or 2 at another time, you can always come back to this video to enjoy them then. It lives on our Wine.com YouTube channel. So the 3 wines that we are tasting in order are the Don Melchor Cabernet Sauvignon, the Montes Purple Angel, Apalta Vineyard Carmenere, and the Los Vascos Le Dix. Like I said, these wines are some of the best, exceptional. First, before we bring in our guests, I wanted to just kind of do a brief introduction of Chile as a wine region. This country is the narrowest in the world, but it's also very long. And it has incredible geographical influences. And when you're thinking of wine, those 2 influences are mainly the Pacific Ocean on the west and the Andes mountain range on the east. So even while being very narrow, its east to west geography and climate are very diverse. And this leads to just unique soils and microclimates that really influence the grape variety choices and the styles produced. Also, Chile is one of it is the only country in the world that has never experienced phylloxera, which gives it so many advantages, like vines growing on their rootstock, being able to grow organically and sustainably, which of course is such an asset as our climate continues to warm. So wines are tasting some of the top rated wines in the world, and we have 3 iconic producers here to talk about them. So let's introduce our guests. From Don Melchor, we have CEO and winemaker Enrique Tirado. From Montes, we have Chief Winemaker Aurelio Montes Jr. And from Los Vascos, we have Chairwoman of Domaine Barons de Rothschild, Saskia Rothschild. Hello, Saskia, Aurelio, and Enrique. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, Gwendolyn.
Yes.
Hola, Aurelio.
Enrique.
Hi, Enrique.
Hola. Hi, Saskia.
Yes, icons, friends, winemakers. So excited. We're glad you're here to talk about these wines. Chile produces so many different wines. It has so many diverse grape varieties, but red wines are where it's found so much success, including putting Chile kind of in the big 100-point club, with a handful of wines receiving 100 points scores from the critics. So I would love to kind of hear your thoughts about the success and growth of red wine in Chile. And Saskia, I'm going to start with you on that.
Well, I think it's been really interesting to see the development of Chile over the past 20 years, because we've really seen that there's been this gain of information that has come from Chile, and this identity that has started to come out of it. And before there used to be this tendency of the Chilean winemakers trying to envision a more European style. And I think that today there's really now an identity and a style of wine that is its own unique product. And I think that's what's most exciting, that you've really seen the identity and precision and professionalism come out of Chile as a whole, and all over the country you see these little gems that have come out, and winemakers bigger and smaller that are really doing their thing. So that I think is the most exciting element of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Aurelio, what about you? Thoughts on that growth and success?
Well, Saskia explained the Chilean situation very well, and what I can add about that is that in Chile we have been producing wine for 500 years. Not many people know about that. And but in the last 35 years, we have been really focused on quality, trying to show the world how good is our terroir, how diverse is Chile in terms of different type of reds. So we can say that in the last at least 15 years, Chile is the new Chile, where every time you open wine from different places of Chile, you're gonna understand how diverse is Chile, how fun is to try Chilean wines, especially red wines.
Enrique?
Yes, I totally agree. And in my opinion, in Chile, we have great condition to produce wines, different terroir, different kind of soil, different weather situation, coastal range, Andes mountain, north, south, as you said. So we have a fantastic terroir for producing different wines. And it's clear that the wine that's opened the image of Chile from Chile were red wines, and mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. That's clear. But today it's different. Since 10, 15, 20 years ago, we have different varieties, white, red wine, and all of them are improving, are showing this fantastic country as a wine country producer.
Yeah, I think these three wines that we were about to taste are such great examples of, like you said, that Chilean identity, but also diversity and just the quality, that focus on quality of Chile. So let us start tasting these wines, because you all have such wonderful stories. And Enrique, we are starting with the Don Melchor Cabernet Sauvignon. So Don Melchor is named after Conciliato's founder. I mean, this is a world-class, top-tier Cabernet. What was, or still is, the vision behind production of this wine?
Yeah, since the beginning, since the first Don Melchor in 1987, the vision behind Don Melchor is to make a wine with the best quality, and also the quality with a unique personality, a unique expression. That is very important. We want to make a wine that really express its vineyard, that really express the soil, the stony soil, the Andes influence, a wine with a unique personality. So this is our vision, every vintage behind Don Melchor. Don Melchor comes from Puente Alto. Puente Alto is a small appellation in Puente Alto, in Maipo Valley, sorry. So we are located at the foot of the Andes, so we have a huge influence from the Andes. Every night, cold wind blow down from the Andes and refresh this area. And also we have a stony soil, very poor soil, stony soil. So we have the perfect combination for producing red variety, but mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. So this is our philosophy, our vision behind Don Melchor, to make a wine that really express its vineyard, its terroir at the end.
Yes, and this is coming from a upper Maipo, correct? The vineyard is up in the upper Maipo?
Yes, you're right. Yes, Don Melchor, the vineyard, is located beside the Maipo River, but at the foot of the Andes. So the Andes area, beside, at the foot of the Andes. So as I said, we have a huge influence from the Andes mountain.
And this helps with Cabernet, how?
Cabernet Sauvignon.
What makes that ideal for Cabernet Sauvignon?
The Cabernet Sauvignon from Puente Alto, it's a, behind Don Melchor, we have Cabernet Sauvignon base, but over 90% Cabernet Sauvignon. And always the base is the Cabernet Sauvignon, because I think the Cabernet Sauvignon is the king of varieties. We can produce great wine and also energy. So, and in that way, the Andes influence moderate the climate conditions. So we have a cold night, we have a great difference between day and night temperatures. And that situation is very important, because we must pick the grape at the end of the season. So the freshness from the Andes is very important for picking the grape at the end of the season. And also we can keep all the fruit character, the freshness, the flavors. So that is very important.
Yeah.
We must, as I said, we must pick the grape at the end of the season with a ripe maturity, not overripe, not green character, the perfect maturity.
And this 2018, I think, is perfection. This is one of the wines rated 100 points. by James Suckling, and I think his tasting note starts out with just, "This is amazing." So this is amazing. So talk us through this as we taste the wine, kind of the aromas, and I know it's primarily there's a little bit of a blend, right?
Yes.
From Cabernet, and just kind of how that's chosen and made and how it's reflected in the wine.
Yes, the 2018 behind the blend, we have 91% Cabernet Sauvignon, 5% Cabernet Franc, 3% Merlot, and 1% Petit Verdot. So always Don Melchor is over 95% Cabernet Sauvignon. And as you said, 2018 was a fantastic year, and the wine shows a lot of fruit character, red character, and some floral notes. You can see floral, red fruit, and also the wine is getting more and more mineral character. In Don Melchor, sometimes you have the red fruit side, and also you have the mineral character, like a ash, like a graphite note. But in this 2018, the first impression is a lot of red fruit, floral notes. And in the mouth, you can see a mix between the energy and the elegance. And that's very important in this terroir, in Don Melchor terroir. We can achieve at the same time the energy, the expression, the red fruit character, and also at the same time the finesse, the balance. And you can see that in this 2018. The wine shows a lot of elegance, but as I said, at the same time, full of expression.
It's beautiful. There is so much balance.
Thank you.
And complexity. It is one of those wines where you just can't put your finger on it. You just kind of have to say, "This is amazing," which it is. So what about when you're thinking of this wine, what kind of oak choices do you make for the Cabernet?
Yeah, in terms of aging, we use oak or food, sorry.
Oh, well, either way, what kind of, what are barrels, barrique, or foudre?
Yes, barrels, yes.
Yeah, barrels.
Yeah, we use French oak, 100% French oak, 70% new and 30% when used. The wine barrel aging is 15 months at the end.
Okay, and so this is delicious now. I mean, it's incredible, but it definitely has potential in one cellar. So kind of how will this evolve over the coming years?
Yes, yes, it's true. But you can drink right now, but also Don Melchor has an amazing aging potential. You can save Don Melchor for 20, 30, 40 years. Today, if you have the first Don Melchor, 87, 88, 89, the wine are showing a great expression, nice texture, a lot of complexity. So Don Melchor has a very great aging potential. So you can save for many, many years. But also you can drink right now, of course.
Yeah, it is tasting beautifully right now. But yeah, 18 was a tremendous vintage. So, and finally, this is the kind of wine that I think would have a very memorable experience over a meal. What kind of foods would you choose to dine with this wine?
Yes, of course, yes, red meat, lamb from the Patagonia is perfect combination, and also pasta and different food. I think the wine has a very nice texture. So I would like to invite you and to invite the people to taste Don Melchor with different kind of food. Try Don Melchor with different kind of texture, flavors, aromas, and I am totally sure you can enjoy this wine with different dishes.
Yes, I agree. I feel like that elegance that you talked about and the texture and how, I guess, elegant and integrated it is. it would just match so well with so many things. So beautiful wine. Thank you so much for sharing. So the next we're going to move on to the Montes Purple Angel Carmenere. So Aurelio, tell us a little bit about the Montes story. When was the winery founded, and what was your family's vision behind it?
Well, from my point of view, the Montes history is quite romantic. Everything started in the end of the 80s when my father used to be the head winemaker of other wineries, and he realized that the focus on the wines in Chile was mainly, for big volume, for lower quality. But he realized that there was a big space for premium wines in Chile. So he decided to start this new concept of winemaking in Chile. So he started with the first boutique winery with 3 other crazy partners, and the idea was to really change the image of Chile after many years working with different grapes and different varieties out of Chile. So was a long road. Was always, when you start from zero, it's always complicated. But they were so passionate about what they wanted to do. They were so convinced that they start growing and they start building the image of Montes till today. So that's a completely different company from when we started. At that time, everything was handmade in a small garage winery. So very romantic.
It is, and you have evolved with the times.
Exactly.
I think all of you might have been founded in the 80s. Is that, or at least Don Melchor, I know, in the 80s. So you're the icons of the 80s. I feel like we should embrace that. So Carmenere, let's talk a little bit about Carmenere, the grape that we're tasting, because the best Carmenere in the world is produced in Chile. But what is it about Chile that has made this grape flourish, where it's kind of floundered so many other places?
Well, this Carmenere comes from Bordeaux, that mainly disappeared after this phylloxera attack or pest. And the real situation about Carmenere is that we got it in Chile by a mistake. We took some plants of Merlot into Chile, and we started planting everything everywhere. But we didn't realize that in between the Merlot, there was many plants of Carmenere. Till one day, in 1994, a French guy, ampelographer, recognized that these strange grapes in the middle of Merlot wasn't Merlot, was Carmenere. At that time, we didn't know what to expect out of that. We didn't know what was Carmenere. What is this? What is the meaning of Carmenere? How to work with Carmenere? So from that time, we start separating, we start planting pure Carmenere. There's no clones of Carmenere, our muscle selection. So we start planting everywhere, and took us a long way to really recognize how complicated it is to work with Carmenere. Why I'm saying that's complicated is because you need, a specific terroir. It is the latest grape that we harvest in Chile. If you harvest earlier, normally you get a very green wine. That's why it's so complicated. So there's no many places in the world that you have a dry autumn. So in Chile, normally we have a very dry summer, but then we have a dry autumn. So it allowed us to wait till get the correct ripeness. I always say that Carmenere is the most extreme grape because you need to be brave, because you're looking, internet, you're looking the weather, and you have to close your eyes and say, I'm gonna wait, because it doesn't matter what kind of rain's coming, because if you don't wait, the quality is not gonna be as good as expected. So, and then you can't plant Carmenere everywhere. Normally Carmenere likes soil, but not too much water. So you need, normally our best Carmenere come from the Piedmont of a mountain where you have enough food, enough clay, enough good food, minerals and nutrients. But at the same time, because it's on a semi-slope, you can get the water out of the vines very easily. So that's why you can't plant, well, you can plant whatever you want, but you can't plant good Carmenere everywhere. You need to find the correct places. And that's why Colchagua, where we are now, for my opinion, it is the best place for Carmenere. You have everything, soil, weather, and now the knowledge of how to manage Carmenere. So that's why I like it so much.
Well, let's taste through it and kind of talk us through kind of those typical aromatics and maybe how it's reflecting Colchagua that makes it really such a top quality, stellar, top rated too. All of these wines are so well received, and you just kind of give us that kind of idea of Carmenere here.
Well, Carmenere, most of the people that know Carmenere knows that Carmenere is known as our spicy friend. Okay, here Carmenere normally is a little bit more spicy, sometimes could be much more a little more spicy than the other grapes. But that's in our point of view is that we like to cook with pepper, but not too much. Okay, I like a little bit of pepper over my meat, not a lot of pepper because I destroy the flavor of the meat. So here exactly the same. So that's why we decided to use two components. One is come from the middle of the valley called Apalta, that is 46% of the blend come from there, and 46% of the other blend come from another vineyard closer to the ocean. Why we're using two types of vineyards? Because Carmenere, because you have to wait so long that normally you take out all the extra spiciness of the wine, but you lose the freshness, you lose the acidity, you lose the tannins. So that's why we use grapes from closer to the ocean that we get more vibrancy. I will say is our wild horse of the mountain. It's a dark horse, with a lot of power, plus the grape from Apalta that are much more elegant. It's like a racing horse, beautiful, tall, but a little bit weak. So blended both together, we make a much more fun and complete wine. Plus, we added 8% of Petit Verdot to make a wine, longer, to make the wine, able to age longer, able to stay in your mouth longer. And what we get out here is, of course, all this black fruit combined with some pepper, thyme, a little bit of wildflowers.
And there's a touch of smokiness, but very subtle.
Yeah,
I love that in Carmenere. That's one of my.
Yeah, that is a game that we play a little bit with the barrels. Here we use 100% of the wines go to barrels, and here we use a specific type of oak that doesn't give us more spiciness, give us more sweetness, could be a little bit of tobacco, sweet chocolate that makes the wine more complete. So that's why it's really important to play with Carmenere. You can use all type of barrels. You need to use a specific type of barrel to make the wine, not over spicy, with a big volume in the mouth to make the wine more drinkable.
Yes, and are you using new oak with this?
70% of the wine go to new oak, 30% go to used barrels, and we keep it for more or less, depending on the year. Here's not a mathematic recipe. Here, normally in between 14 months up to 20 months, depend on the year, depend on the concentration. At the end, again, it's like cooking with the pepper. You need to play very, very precise, not to go too spicy, too over oaky, or in a good balance. So that's why it's so important to define each year how much oak, how much time you're gonna keep it inside.
Yeah, and this is the mouthfeel too is very soft, not bad, but it still has this has a lot more structure than many Carmenere I've had, but this is just that wonderful balance of the softness of the Carmenere, but also having a good backbone.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about Carmenere. I'm very fanatic, as you can see, of Carmenere. And one of the things that I love about Carmenere, that is a grape that you can share with experts and beginners. So it's so soft. It's so easy to drink, but at the same time so complex in terms of aromas, in terms of the foul mouth feeling, that at the end of the day, you can give it to someone that's starting with red wine, and this guy is going to drink it and say, wow, it's so soft, so easy to understand, but at the same time so complex, that make a wine very complex. At the same time, I know you like to know with which kind of food we recommend this type of wine, because if the wine is spicy, soft. For example, my best pairing will be with Thai food. Thai food with this one, it's worked so well. Of course, also with lamb cooked with the fire for 8 hours without a lot of fat. After waiting so long with the fire, you lose all the fat, but the taste is so clean of the lamb, together with this Carmenere, that is not for big piece of steak. It's more for more finesse type of meat.
More subtle. But yeah,
Exactly.
I love your enthusiasm. It is contagious. But I mean, Carmenere is so beautiful right now. What about aging Carmenere versus other red wines?
To be honest with you, this Carmenere in general is not the one that can compete, for example, with Cabernet Sauvignon, as Enrique said. I can't tell you wait 20, 30 years, not even close.
Most of us aren't that patient anyway, so it's okay.
Exactly, I'm not that patient, exactly. But
patience to grow Carmenere, but not patience to drink it, so this is okay.
That's a good point. So at the end, I would say 15 years, no problem at all. It's beautiful. More than 20, I would say, depend on the year, depend on the area, but 15 years, definitely yes. And it's a wine that age till 15, 20 year maximum, so well. Normally keep fresh, keep with all the spiciness, so still very alive. That's a good advantage. And you can drink it today without problem. You decant. I always recommend this type of wine that we're trying today, to decant the wine, because all the three wines are big wines, are wine that with so much flavors that is good to decant before you drink it.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that if drinking these three wines, even though you can't maybe finish them all in one day, they will easily linger and evolve in the bottle over the next several days. So beautiful wine. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I think you encourage everybody to go try Carmenere if they have not already. So
great.
So Saskia, we are coming to you in the Los Vascos Le Dix. We say Le Dix, yes?
Exactly.
So yes, I know in French it depends on what word goes with it. So Le Dix. Okay. So also another top-rated wine, but just kind of touching on your family and their vision in Chile. Just kind of your French family comes to Chile some 30 years ago. What potential did the Rothschild family see in this country for producing quality wine?
Well, I think what was very interesting about the first time that my father visited Chile is that he completely fell in love with the country on top of the wines. And I think it's more and more true of us as winemakers. Now that we have estates, we have vineyards, but we have everything that goes with it. We have the nature, the biodiversity, we have to think of an estate as a holistic element that is very linked to the territory, the place, the climate that it's in. And I think that really why my dad fell in love with Los Vascos and with the Colchagua Valley and the area that we were in is because he found that here. And he found that there, and it's something that we were always looking for. It's that kind of balance, a great place to make wine and a great place to actually create a sustainable vineyard throughout time, and that is in link with the nature in its region. So I think that Los Vascos is the absolute example of that kind of vineyard, because you have as much vineyard and agricultural land as well as wild land where you can have a fauna and flora that can be protected for next generations.
Yeah, and yes, all these photos make me want to go back to Chile. It's been too long, but it's a beautiful country, such beautiful people. With the wine we're drinking, the Le Dix, tell us a little bit about the story behind this wine and its creation.
So Le Dix, first, the name means the number 10. So it was created 10 years after we had arrived in Chile. And I think in winemaking, we always say that the hardest years are the first 100 years. So I think that after 10 years, we started to understand the terroir and the area and thought, let's do a trial. Let's create a wine that won't be produced every year. At the time it was, and it still is today, really the idea there was only the best of years that we would produce Le Dix. And let's try out how we can make an absolutely gorgeous wine on this estate. And at that time, we came upon part of our terroir that was called El Fraile. That was this area in the valley floor of our vineyard that is made of this clayey Tosca volcanic soil that was quite qualitative, but especially what was good about it is that there was this old maple selection that was planted there. A maple selection means that it's old vines, vine individuals that are from a good clone that has proved that it works well on that terroir. So it was this old maple selection of Cabernet Sauvignon that had been there for years, and now we have this plot of vine that is with vines that are 50 years old. So this was this origin of the El Fraile story. And then I think over the years, what happened is we realized that a little bit like Aurelio mentioned, there were other areas of the vineyard that were producing these very complex and very interesting wines. And one of these areas is called La Aguina, and La Aguina is more hillside Piedmont, I'd say, and on that area, it's more granitic, alterated granitic soils where we can produce a very good Cabernet Sauvignon and very good Syrah. So we added in that wines from that terroir into the mix, and having those very old El Fraile, quite dense profile of Cabernet Sauvignon, and these a little bit more complex Syrahs and Cabernets, we thought that it was working to create this icon wine, and we've been researching with those two ingredients ever since. So it's been good to play around with. And then another important element that we have in mind, and again to the point of Aurelio, is that to us oak comes as really a story that doesn't have to hide the identity that we're talking about. So we use barrels that we actually make in France. We have our own barrel making facility that is across the road in Pauillac, and we create a certain toast that will provide a really interesting structure, but not hide the quality of the wine. We only use 50% new oak, and the rest is used barrels to really have that smooth élevage creation of aromatic throughout the months that the wine spends in barrels.
Do you make specific barrels just for Le Dix or for Chile in general?
We have now for each of our wines a special approach in the way we work the barrel. You have kind of two elements for a barrel. Once you have the oak, and we work with a forest here in France, you have how long you heat it with for, more or less, and how harsh. So you have those two cards that you play with. There's other elements, but I guess these two are important. And so it's all about fine tuning, depending on the style of wine, what you want to do. And in Chile, we have quite bold aromas. So you really have to think of the barrel as something that has to hold that structure. So it's really an interesting tasting to work on the quality and the concept of how you work on the barrel for Le Dix.
Yes, and I mean, and I know Aurelio was mentioning that, and Enrique also, just kind of having that where the wood integrates and enhances, but doesn't overshadow, doesn't hide the wine, which I think is a goal for many. But I think that these three wines show how well it can be done. So let's taste through the wine. Tell us a little bit about how this is kind of reflecting those older vines and that vineyard where it's coming from.
So we're tasting 2016. So 2016 in Chile is known to have had quite a warm summer. It's one of those quite solar vintages, at least in our perception. The only thing is that and we're honest winemakers, so we tell the truth. There was a big rainstorm in the middle of the harvest season, so we harvested it a little bit early because of a rainstorm, and so you see that you have that absolutely solar and very fruit forward quality of having cherries, plums on the nose, having very, very dense aromas, but you also have a certain finesse and a certain spiciness that comes in. I have a little bit of saffron, you say? Saffron.
It sounds so much better in European languages, so saffron.
And I think that it's very juicy, you know, it's very salivating. I love this wine, and I think that I decanted it 2 hours and a half early. With Le Dix, I always decant it very, very early. I think it's worth, it needs the air. And I think that 2016 is right about the age that you want to have these wines, because you still have the very fruit forward juiciness. And at the same time, you've had the patina of 2 years since it's been in bottle. So it's a good moment to start to taste it.
Yeah, and how long when do you bottle it? How long does it stay in oak before you bottle?
It depends on yours, but more or less 16, 18 months.
Okay, yeah. No, this is, but the structure, it has grip. It has some great backbone there also with the juiciness. Well, so I have quite a few Le Dix actually in my cellar. So how will this evolve? You had mentioned 16 is beautiful tasting now. We're about 5 years old. Other vintages, are there others that you would go longer?
Yeah, you can. I've had 98 recently for dinner, and it was absolutely incredible. So I think you can really wait actually, and really take your time for Le Dix. It depends on the vintages. It's once again, as I say, only the best of years. We chose the years, and also I think that even though in Chile you have less of a vintage effect than we may have in places like Bordeaux, where we have harsher climates, but I really like that every Le Dix has its identity and its story, and I think it's really something that is very important, and that when we go back and do vertical tastings of all the wines, you can feel this year was like this and this year was like that, and I think that that's really something we want to keep. It's not having a homogeneous image of Le Dix. It's having Le Dix tell the story of what happened that year.
Right. And so, we've talked a little bit about food, because a lot of times when people open these kinds of wines, they want to have just everything kind of go together. What would be your food pairings? What did you eat with the 98?
I actually had a pasta al pomodoro, which is tomato sauce pasta, which is one of my favorite foods to have with red wine, to be honest.
Okay.
And it was very, very good. I really like this kind of wine with pasta, a little bit like Enrique mentioned. But I think it's also great to have just if you don't want to have a sit-down meal, just have it with a little bit of cheese or potato chips. I love wine with potato chips personally. I think that's
popcorn too. I think that, yeah.
French fries, potato chips. I think it's all these things that work very, very well with a glass of red wine, and you don't have to be sitting down and with a proper meal. You can just have it as a little moment. But I think that it's when you don't have a meal, sometimes you actually dive into the wine in a different way than if you're actually having a plate with it. So I like to have both experiences.
So yes, so buy at least two so you can do both. Well, wonderful. This wine is fantastic. I'm just, all three of these are so different, yet they all say, they all have that Chilean identity, which you were all talking about. And that's just a wonderful place to be. So thank you so much for being here and sharing these wines and the stories behind these wines. They are all delicious. If you at home did not get a chance to have this trio, I highly recommend it. It's still available on Wine.com. Absolutely incredible wines and a whole wonderful selection of Chilean wines, which it just continues to grow in both availability and quality, which is exciting for us in the U.S. I think outside of France and Italy, Chile might be one of the top imports here in the U.S. for wine, which means we're on our way to enjoying and appreciating these wines even more. So again, thank you so much for being here, Enrique, Aurelio, and Saskia. Absolutely delicious. And
Thank
salud.
you.
Thank
Salud.
you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Gracias, adiós.
Dios, gracias. Bye-bye. Thank you.
It's both a science and a form of high art. It's made from the combination of grapes, sunlight, rain, soil, and time. It's raised up in the moments that matter. It's wine. And we are Wine.com. We have the largest wine selection in the world, online sommeliers with free advice, and now our powerful new app puts the entire world of wine in your hands. Wine.com. Seriously passionate about wine. Download our free app today.